All right, Ryan Fish now. And Ryan, federal officers say more than 100 members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua were the targets of today's raid. We know at least one gang member was arrested. He was from Chile. What can you tell us about this?
Well, Shannon, that's right. And other arrests were made as well. And Denver 7 Investigates has learned that these operations took place at 8 different locations around the metro today. And the federal agents say because of a lack of cooperation from city and county jails, they need to carry out these operations, these raids in this way in order to make those arrests and go after their targets. And that's something that's been a big focus under the new Trump administration.
Wednesday morning, federal agencies teamed up to swarm several Denver metro apartment complexes.
Any drugs in the house? Can we come in and check?
The ICE Denver office said more than 100 members of the Venezuelan prison gang Tren de Aragua, or TdA, were targeted in the raids led by Homeland Security Investigations. Our cameras on scene saw several people detained and taken away. We've learned agents made more than a dozen arrests.
I'm finally glad somebody's doing something about this.
These actions were targeted operation focused on violent criminal aliens, TdA members, and those who are a threat to our public safety.
Some witnesses dispute that violent criminals were the only ones targeted. Concerned the door-to-door sweeps seem to be looking for any undocumented immigrants.
They were all heavily armed and demanding ID from me and asking me to snitch on my neighbors.
At the edge of Lowry Apartments in Aurora, we were on FaceTime with one family as ICE came to the door. Eventually, they were allowed to leave for work and school. At Denver's Cedar Run Apartments, we spoke with a Venezuelan immigrant who asked us not to share his identity because he feels like his brother was already unfairly targeted and he could be next. He says they were leaving for work around 6 in the morning as the ICE raid was starting.
Yes, ahí fue donde ellos supuestamente venían a intervenir en busca de gente criminal, que tuvieran récord criminal, y resulta que no fue así, porque nos pidieron documentos nosotros.
He says he has temporary protected status and is here legally while his brother is going through the asylum process. We can't confirm their documentation, but he did share this video with us.
Nosotros estamos trabajando.
Y sin ninguna razón bajaron a mi hermano del vehículo, lo bajaron a la fuerza, le pusieron sus esposas, no lo dejaron hablar más nada y sin ningún motivo de razón lo montaron en el autobús.
We do know that people move different apartments. We were contacting everybody in that area, looking for the targets that we were looking for under the public safety mandate that we have in order to try and identify those.
Will there be more in the coming days?
We'll get back with you on that, Tony.
And you heard there no direct answer to that last question. But Shannon, you mentioned one confirmed TdA member was arrested. Other arrests were made. But the special agent in charge, Vice, that you heard from in that story, said they're not going to measure the success of these operations in the number of arrests, but rather in the impact to public safety that we see afterwards here. For now, live in Denver, Ryan Fish, Denver 7.
All right, Ryan Fish tonight. Ryan, thank you for your work on this tonight. So if you are detained or officers ask you about your neighbors, you do have rights. And Denver 7 sat down with a law professor and immigration attorney for some guidance here.
Whether documented or undocumented, what rights do they have if ICE just comes knocking on their door one morning like we saw this morning?
They certainly do not have to open the door, and they don't have to answer any substantive questions about their immigration status. They can choose to remain silent. They do have to provide their name, but they don't have to answer any more information other than that, especially if ICE isn't showing them any kind of warrant at all.
A good question for people to ask if they're being detained or kept from leaving is to ask the question, am I under arrest? And hopefully someone has a phone on. And if someone's not under arrest, then they should be allowed to go.
You can find our full in-depth reporting on the protests and the raids today right now on Denver7.com. We have exclusive interviews and we have some images that you're not going to find anywhere else.